What's up, fight fans? Thank you as always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. All right, so this weekend we have Frampton versus Warrington, the same day, unbelievably the same day as Chisora versus White, which I think really and truly just hurts all four fighters, right? I think all four fighters will suffer on this one, especially if they've got any back-end payments coming in from pay-per-view or ticket sales. I just went on to the ticket website for Frampton versus Warrington. There are still tickets available. I know it's very close to Christmas, but if you think of the fan bases that both of those two have, I don't think, aside from Joshua and who else? Amir Khan maybe? I don't think any other fighter in Britain has fan bases as big as Warrington versus Frampton, but yet there are still tickets available. Shocker. I went on to Chisora versus White ticket site, and again, tickets available for that. So in the long run, this trying to compete against each other just hurts both. And I think going forward, I don't know, I feel like the British Boxing Board of Control, I don't know how much control they have on this, but I think the British Boxing Board of Control need to look at this. There is no point putting two big pay-per-view events on the same day. And I think the blame does have to go over Eddie Hearn, right? Frampton versus Warrington, that was definitely booked first. I feel like Eddie Hearn's done this as well. I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure he'd done this with an Amir Khan event as well. So I think, look, again, it harms both and it's ridiculous and needs to stop. All right, Frampton versus Warrington. I have to admit, I think we've seen the best of Carl Frampton. Look, I still think he's a fantastic fighter, but I think the best Carl Frampton that I've seen was now 2-3 years ago. That was Scott Quigg, and that was the first Leo Santa Cruz fight, and I guess moments of the second one. But the Frampton that I've seen in the last 3 fights with Jamie Moore has just been okay. It's just been okay. I don't know how much stock I put into performance against Nonito Donaire and Jackson, right? No one really knew Jackson, and I think Nonito Donaire is 4 or 5 years past his prime. Again, good results. I think those good performances, but how much stock do you really put into those performances? So I think we've seen the best from Frampton. I don't want to say he's on a decline, but I think he is definitely leveling out, right? He's definitely leveling out, and I don't think it's going to get any better. And that's just how boxing is, right? It's very rare that as you get older, you get better. It's just one of those things. Whereas for Warrington, I have to admit, going into that fight against Selby, I think 99% of us said that Selby was going to win. I remember Box Nation done a poll, and I think it was a poll of sort of ex-fighters and trainers. I think it was 15 people. One person said Warrington was going to beat Selby. That's how big a favourite Selby was. And Warrington destroyed him. I mean, destroyed him. When I think of my performances of 2018, not just from a Britain standpoint, but internationally as well, that has to be one of my performances of 2018. Just because, again, had him as a massive underdog. Selby was not just a champion, but Selby, I think, was one of the best boxers in Britain at the time in terms of his style, fluidity, everything. And I honestly thought we were just going to get Selby versus Frampton. I thought we were going to get a big fight. And he literally said, no, that's not happening. Yes, he had a massive and crazy fan base behind him, but that performance was from start to finish just 100 miles per hour. Literally, when you wind up Warrington and just let him go, he might not have the best boxing ability. I think that's something he still lacks. But in terms of just heart, desire, sheer will, there aren't many boxers on British soil that have his kind of sheer will, that I'm going to win, I'm determined to win, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. It was definitely a breakthrough performance. And if you can put on that kind of performance again and just add a bit more on top, Frampton's not going to like it. I think in order to beat Warrington, you need to be either a very, very good boxer, or you need to have something that stops him in his tracks, right? Because, again, he'll just keep marching forward. I think Frampton is a very good boxer, but I don't know if he has superpower at the featherweight division, but I expect his boxing skills to get through this one. I do. When I look at the featherweight division, I still think he is possibly top 3, top 4. You have Santa Cruz, I think, is a clear number 1, Gary Russell Jr., and then I think you have Valdez Frampton. And then after that, I don't know if Mars is standing in the division, but then I think you have Mars Warrington. So I think it's a very close fight between two guys that I think could make an argument to say in their top 5 featherweights. And I think it's going to be a good one. I think the atmosphere, and remember I said this, I think the atmosphere will be the best atmosphere we've seen in the boxing ring since Ricky Hatton Costa Zoo. Think of that atmosphere. That atmosphere was unbelievable. If you can't remember it, go on YouTube and just turn the volume up. That atmosphere was unbelievable. When you think of Warrington's fans, they're crazy. They're crazy. And then you think of Carl Frampton fans and you think you've got a mirror image here. I remember when Carl Frampton fought Scott Quigg, and I remember in the build-up, Scott Quigg saying, "You're coming to my backyard," and Frampton and Barry McGuigan saying, "Your backyard will sound like Northern Ireland." And it did. They literally drowned out all the Mancunians in there. So that atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. You're going to have 10,000 Leeds fans, 10,000 guys flying over from Northern Ireland. It's going to be unbelievable. If I had to pick a favourite, I still think Frampton has got just enough to get past Warrington. But I do think Warrington's getting better, and I do think Frampton's coming down a bit, so I think it makes a great matchup. And I do believe whoever wins out of those two goes for massive fights in 2019. If Warrington wins, I do think he goes the Valdez, Gary Russell Jr. route. If Frampton wins, then I think it's fair that he gets the trilogy with Leo Santa Cruz, and I think that would be massive. That's something he talks about all the time. Big fights, big fight, big fights. Let's hope he's not overlooked Josh Warrington, because if he has, like Selby did, I think, it's going to be a long, long night.